Parmesan hero with extra cheese and extra something.
And hello and what is up, my friends? My name is Alex and I would like to welcome you to another episode of Grass in Class. And today I'm going to be putting together this AirCube hydroponic system. And it's going to be placed inside of this 4x4 tent underneath this Mars Hydro FC8000, which I've used in a couple of occasions and I really did like the results, so I'm giving it another go. And if you like any of the items used for this grow, I will be leaving them in the description below along with discount codes. Which reminds me, Mars Hydro is having a Black Friday sale where you would find grow lights like this one up to 40% off. Now friends, for the hydroponic system, even though I already have a reservoir, this system comes with a collapsible reservoir that could hold up to 60 gallons. And first I started by removing the little plastic foam protectors on top and making sure I had every piece to put this tank together. And step 1 in the assembly instructions was to install the drain spigot or drain valve to the reservoir, making sure to put the rubber gaskets both on the interior and exterior of the reservoir. Step 2 is assembling the support poles that are going to go inside of the reservoir. I used a rubber mallet to make sure they were in all the way. Otherwise, if you have poles that are taller than others, it might not be level. The 6 support poles that are going inside get capped in place with a hexagon nut to the top of the reservoir. And I have to say, the instructions for this setup was super easy, and after making sure everything is put together correctly, I then have to test it and make sure it holds water. So I set the reservoir on top of a cardboard box temporarily while I unpack everything else. Next, I take everything out of the 7-gallon control brain module. And after setting up the reservoir tank, the next step would be to place one of these water pumps inside. And I had to use the larger fitting in order for me to use the hose that came with the kit. And it also came with 4 little suction cups which go mounted to the bottom of the pump. I then place it at the bottom of the reservoir and measure tubing long enough to go up and down onto the brain module. And I did cut it a little bit longer just in case I had to move the brain module around. Next, we're going to use this little puncture tool to install the vacuum brake to the flexible tubing. I am making a puncture at the highest part of the tubing where it enters the reservoir, and making sure that when I insert the vacuum brake, the elbow is pushed all the way in and it's facing downwards. This way, once your pump shuts off, it won't siphon the water out of the buckets. I then plug that pump onto the brain module on the side that says fill, and then I adjust the 2 upper water level float valves to an approximate water level that I'm going to be using inside of those buckets. And since I'm using 6 buckets, we're only going to be using 2 out of the 6 holes in the brain module. So I put 4 stoppers and the 2 straight connectors, which we are going to be using to water our 6 buckets. And as for the brain module lid, it is also getting 2 straight connectors. Next, I assemble another pump in the same manner in which I did the first. This pump is going inside of the brain module and attached to the lid. This will be the pump responsible for draining this ebb and flow system. Therefore, once I plug it up to the brain control module, I have to make sure that is on the drain side. Next, I will be connecting our fill pump, which we did in step 1, to the brain control module in the opposite side, in which we have our drain pump connected. And next, we'll be connecting another piece of tubing from the bottom of the drain reservoir to our drain side. And again, I had to cut this one a little bit longer just in case I needed to move the brain control module. And now that we have the control module and reservoir mostly set up, we can start by putting these buckets together. And since I'm gonna be in a 4x4 tent, I'm gonna place them out evenly. This way I could get a better idea where they're going to be positioned. I then place all the grommets in the bucket with the flat side facing the bottom of the buckets. And as for the T-connectors, well, they could only go on one way, so I make sure to cut the tubing that goes in between them equally apart. This way, once I flip everything over, my buckets will be evenly spaced out. And it's a good thing this kit comes with plenty of tubing just in case you make an error. And once I got everything flipped over, I could measure the last 2 pieces of tubing which will be connected from the control brain module. And during this step, I had to make sure that none of the hoses had any kinks or sharp bends to them. This way, your drain and fill times would be what they were intended by not having an obstructed flow, which I make sure to check by filling up the buckets and testing the timer. And while I'm running some water through the system to clean it, I also do the same to this hydroton, which I'm going to be using for this grow. And now friends, I have pre-selected the 6 plants that are ready to be put in this medium and get started to grow. So far, after running the system for around 24 hours, I did not see any leaks or any problems with it whatsoever. I tried the hand watering and the automated watering, and they both seem to work perfectly fine. But alright my friends, like I always like to say, I'm not going to take any more of your time because I want you to watch the rest of my videos. So until next time, this is Grass in Class, signing out. Peace.
We got a call for now.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Nigga, I was about to take off, bro. You see, I turned around, ready to get up. This nigga.